hello there. I don't know, people who have been here for a while might remember that I did a thing last November that was called Not the Normal November, where I read books on my shelf that perhaps aren't the typical thing that I would gravitate towards or pick up, but were things that I owned and wanted to get to. And I wasn't thinking about it this year, but actually I came across the video again the other day, and I just thought, do you know what, I'm going to do that again this year, mainly because it was a lot of fun and I actually enjoyed quite a lot of the things that I read last year. And also, you know, I think it's always good to step out of your reading zone, especially when what I'm reading at the moment isn't really working for me and it's not really exciting me, and I feel more excited about these books. I don't know why. I'm hoping that stepping away from the boundaries of my typical reading will help to kickstart something in me. I'm also, there are a few non-fictions in here because I don't typically pick up non-fiction, so this also kind of counts as a bit of a non-fiction November thing. So I'm going to talk to you about the books that I'm hoping to read. There's quite a few here and I probably won't get to all of them, especially considering that one's really thick, but I wanted to give myself a selection. So the first one is Sarah Wilson's First We Make the Boost Beautiful. Now this is a bit of a cheat because it's one of those books that's been on my shelf for ages and I've really wanted to read it. This is about anxiety basically, and dealing with anxiety and life with anxiety. And I you know, I've wanted to read this ever since I heard that amazing title, because I mean, that's one of the best titles that ever has existed. And yeah, I'm really intrigued, but it's non-fiction, so I think it still counts in the Not the Normal November thing, and also non-fiction November, so I'm really looking forward to that one. I might do that first, and I think as well it's going to be quite easy to read because there's not much writing to a page. Then I've got another non-fiction, which is The Last Act of Love by Kathy Rensenbrink. This was everywhere years and years ago now, and I picked it up probably last year and I haven't got around to it. I can't remember exactly what it's about anymore, but it's about a brother and sister, and I think something happens to the brother, or maybe the brother dies or is in a serious accident, and it talks about how the family cope with that and how Kathy herself coped with the loss. You know, a bleak read, but I quite like a bleak read every now and again, and I think again it's quite thin, so it'll be easy to read, and I think it'll be a fascinating look at just humanity and grief and how we deal with things that perhaps we don't think we could deal with. Then that's all of the non-fictions, I believe. Then I've got a kids book. No, I'm not a person who reads kids books, but they're not the normal thing that I read. So this is Momo by Michael Ende. He wrote The Never-Ending Story, which is one of my favourite kids books. I read it a few years ago and it was stunning. It's one of those kids books that I think is definitely more aimed towards adults, and there is so much in there that as an adult you're just like, oh my goodness, that's so good. I think this is probably going to be more towards kids from the look of it and the sounds of it, but I still am really looking forward to it because, you know, I think it'll be an easy again read and it'll be something to get really stuck into. I believe it just follows a homeless girl called Momo and her adventures around town, so we'll see. Then I've got Sally Rooney's Conversation with Friends. Now I put this in the Not the Normal section because it's a book that I probably, if there hadn't been so much attention towards it and people that I really respect have really enjoyed this, I probably wouldn't have picked it up, because honestly there is a part of me that thinks I'm going to hate this book. I think it's about like privileged middle class relationships and friendships. I don't know, that's just what I've got in my head of it. I also think it's going to be just, I just don't think I'm going to gel with it. I don't think I'm going to like the characters. I am prepared to hate this, but at the same time, as I say, a lot of people who I really respect their opinions and I usually like the books that they like, really like this, so I'm trying to be positive. I just have always, from the moment I heard about it, thought that it was just going to be a book that was absolutely not for me. So I'm finally going to pick it up because I think it's better to actually try these things rather than just assume that I'll hate it. Then I've got the biggest book, and probably the one that I'm most excited about getting to, which is The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. Those of you who watched my Dewey's TBR will know that I intended to get to this, but that never happened. So I'm hoping to get to it this month. This is obviously thick, so it might be quite ambitious. The writing's tiny and the pages are really thin. It's the second in the fantasy series. I don't know what they're called on the whole, but the first one is The Name of the Wind, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The Name of the Wind was okay. It kind of gripped me. I enjoyed it well enough. I wouldn't say it was like my favourite fantasy thing ever, but I kind of feel like getting just immersed in a fantasy world at the moment, and I think this is going to be a good one for that. Then I've got Kate Atkinson's Case Histories. Now, obviously, Kate Atkinson is an author that I really like. She's not somebody who I wouldn't normally read, but I believe this is her detective series, the first in her detective series, and obviously detective novels are not typically something that I gravitate towards. However, Kate Atkinson's writing is so good, and again, I kind of feel like a detective story would be a good thing to get lost in at the moment, and something that can really grip me and keep me turning the pages. So yeah, there's that one. I have Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. Now, again, Ray Bradbury isn't an author that I don't know or follow. Fahrenheit 451 was one of my first favourite books in the world. I love his Dandelion Wine book and the one that comes after it, and I also love his writing memoir, The Zen in the Art of Writing. But I never really gravitate towards his really heavy sci-fi stuff. I guess Fahrenheit 451 is sci-fi, but it's kind of a dystopian kind of, it's believable, I guess. Whereas I think this one is much more crazy. I believe it's actually related somehow to Dandelion Wine. I think it's set in the same place or something along those lines, and whether it's part of that series, I don't know. Anyway, it's a fantasy book, it's Ray Bradbury. I haven't read much of his heavy fantasy stuff, so I thought I could count this in here. And also, can we just have a moment for this stunning cover? I love it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well. So those are all my non-fiction November books. Hopefully I will get to them all, but if not, I will do my best to get to as many as possible. Please feel free to join in. I think it would be really fun if other people were doing non-fiction November as well, and I can really recommend it. I think it's a fantastic way to step outside your comfort zone and find books that perhaps you wouldn't normally. I think we've all got those books on our shelves that aren't our normal thing because we bought them on a whim or because we've seen them recommended. So this is an excellent excuse to get to them. So please let me know what you're reading this November, if you're going to do any non-fiction November reading or not the normal November reading, and I will see you next time. Bye.